Hey guys, Fatty here. So we currently have right in front of us, and we're just gonna get right into it, the patch notes from Taiwan. And if you guys are not familiar with how gravity usually works, is that the Taiwan patches, the most latest ones especially, are applied to global soon after. So we can expect these changes to come as well to global because they are being implemented in Taiwan already as of 7/11, which was yesterday. They started off with Dear Adventure, the Horn of the Odin Cup is about to sound, which means that they are going to get their Odin Cup Season 2. Odin Cup being the cross-server tournament that gives the OP Centaur mount. We don't have to worry about that now, but that is something that we're going to be experiencing as well. And the next part here is that basically it says Euperus, but it's basically Juperis. Increased rewards for the Juperis ruins after adventurers continue to explore the dungeons of Juperis ruins after the update. They will clear the Juperis ruins and reach level 2 or above. And they will definitely get the genre imprint selection box, which is basically your class selection box, right? It's just a bit of a mistranslation there. Adventurers who have already challenged and completed the dungeon don't have to worry. We will reissue it to the updater. Adventurers who have challenged level 2 or above and have not obtained the genre imprint self-selection box, the class imprint self-selection box, are rewarded. Please wait patiently. The weekly leaderboard rewards of the relics of Juperis have also increased the number of class imprint boxes, allowing adventurers to develop class imprints more quickly. Increase being it's not just going to be the top 150. Hopefully from 150 we get it extended to like maybe top 300 or something like that, right? So we can hope. Brand new class imprint slate coming soon. For Synex, it is going to be the Flying Shadow Hunting, which is going to complement the Poisonous Dagger skill of Synex. So basically, it's like a gap closer type of thing with like the Poisonous Dagger. I'm not sure how much of a usage this will see with Synexes, because like the current one that they have is pretty OP already with AA. And then when GT becomes meta, I don't see a situation where they want to dash in when they can just maintain distance and do all of their burst damage. So might not be a very useful, or might be a very niche for the AA DD crit lovers out there. So next one we have here is Blacksmith series. New genre imprint Molten Iron Dash. The cooldown time of trolley acceleration skill, which is the cart boost, is extended after releasing their trolley to accelerate the effect of Molten Iron Sprint, which I would assume is cart boost that speeds up your movement speed, will be obtained. The movement speed will be increased. Okay, and the physical and magical damage reduction will be increased. Oh, if the target is killed during the effect, the duration can be extended. Upgrading the genre imprint can increase the movement speed, physical and magical damage reduction, and extend the duration. So this is way better than the one that they were having before. Correct me if I'm wrong if this is not the cart boost. This is really good, because what this does versus like the current ones that Mastersmiths have is the increased movement speed along with the increased damage mitigation means that it kind of makes up for the inherent weaknesses that every single melee classes face. You know, LKs face it, Paladins face it, Blacksmith face it, which is they all have damage or some source of damage. The problem is delivering that damage when trying to go through a choke point. So this kind of makes up for that fact. I'm not sure by how much it's going to get raised. I'm pretty sure we'll get some specifics on that. But hopefully we get some light on this later on. And this is definitely 100% good news for the Mastersmiths that want to stick to the class, that actually like the class, right? So this is good. So Poets/Comedy series. This is the Bard. New genre, imprint Poetic Echo. During playing Eden's Apple, the effect of Poetic Echo, Eden's Apple being Apple of Eden, the AoE healing that Bards have, will be added to the healed target, and the effect is recover part of Poet's physical attack HP per second. Upgrading the genre imprint can increase the recovered health and extend the duration, and improve physical attack and magic attacks. So it turns, it looks like the Eden's Apple, besides the innate healing that it has with the skill, it makes it heal more, and it looks like it now acts as a buff as well, which, I mean, this skill was already very, very, very strong to begin with, so adding even more healing into it, adding even more of a buff to it, more utility to it, just makes Bard that much higher in the tier list when it comes to support. So bards kind of become a necessity. I mean, they already were before. It's just like now you really need to have a bard in your squad, right? So the next one we have here is the Dancer Cool Dancer series, the Charm Healing. During the period of play for you, the Charm Healing, which is part of the Dancer's physical attack, HP will be recovered. So, you know, as per usual, physical attack scaling with the healing, which is, you know, par for the course with these two classes. Upgrading this genre imprint can increase the recovered health, so more heals, and extend the duration, and also improve physical attack and magic attack. So basically the same thing as what we saw up here. So this makes Dancers and Bards pretty much a necessity. Like, if you have this in your defense line, not only does it help your defense line be more secure with all the sustain that it gives you, so this is really, really good. Rogue, which is going to be the stalker class, Cutting Ambush. When backstabbing behind the target, the crit rate of the backstab is increased. So it's a direct buff to backstab. When the backstab deals damage, there is a chance to add graffiti effect to the enemy. When backstab is released behind the target, the additional chance is increased. Upgrading the genre imprint can increase backstab crit rate that deals damage, obviously, and then increase the physical attack after the backstab crit. So this is not just a offensive skill now, but also a buff skill now as well. New genre imprints with professional balance adjustments. We look forward to making all classes more fun and powerful to play. I think this is a very good direction. I feel like a lot of classes, especially melee classes, specifically like LK, do need a lot of help. I hope that they actually tackle the weaknesses of this class, because fundamentally there is like that reason that these classes struggle in the late game once the power creep starts, you know, creeping in, right? So hopefully these classes get some love, they get the buffs that they deserve, not some random buff out of nowhere to like a skill that they don't need, but an actual buff that will actually cater to them. Like, right, they have damage, they just need something to cater to the fact that they need to deliver that damage without dying before they get there, right? So hopefully they get that. In addition to the brand new slate of genre imprints, we have made some class balance adjustments to improve overall game balance. And this balance adjustment is based on the feedback and opinions of everyone through professional balance questionnaires, social platforms, forums, and other channels, which basically means like the surveys that they've been putting out, and Discord and stuff like that, and is based on the actual online situation evaluation. Most adventurers think that the Crusader of the life-saving style, which is the sacrifice style, and the Hunter of the trap style are relatively strong. So we will first explain these two occupations. So Trapper, somehow catching a stray bullet, I don't think that they're inherently strong, because there's a lot of things that can counter them. I feel like something would be very incredibly strong if there was no counterplay to it, but there's obviously a counterplay to the trap style hunters. Now, wailed out Crusaders, like sacrifice Crusaders, however, there is very little counterplay to them, and that's even more so when they have access to certain MVP cards, right? It just becomes almost impossible to deal with these guys. So that I can understand, but I'm a little confused with the Trapper Hunter nerf that they're implying here. But about the Crusade, since the Crusaders can cause high skill damage while taking into account survivability and defensive capabilities, basically sacrifice, it is difficult to be effectively restrained in the PvP scene, as we saw in the previous WoW, War of Imperium, which has a big gap with our original positioning of the Crusaders. After more in-depth testing, we have found out the key reason, and the current formula for risking your life, which is sacrifice, is normal attack plus sacrifice of life times special increase and decrease damage. I'm not like a math whiz, so there's a certain way that this formula right here is calculated, which makes them do more damage than gravity had intended. So I'm guessing the nerf to this one is probably going to be, I mean, it's probably going to be like a formula change, but we'll see. Special increase and decrease injuries include PvP increase and decrease injuries. Okay, and PvE increase and decrease injuries. So PvP damage and PvP damage mitigation, PvE damage and PvE damage mitigation. So that's what they're trying to say that they're trying to fix, including the damage and damage mitigation that titles give you, and fatal and toughness. Fatal and toughness being fatal and resilience, which is part of your divine armament. So this part here in particular is going to be about Temple of Nightmare. They don't want them to do too much damage and to be too tanky, right? So this formula mistakenly calculates two special increase and decrease damages, which leads to abnormally high damage of risk of death, which is sacrifice, attack in some cases. We will fix this abnormality after the update this week. Corrected to the following correct formula. Okay, so they did fix the formula. Gotcha. Normal attack plus sacrifice of life, so basically like these two, and then I'm guessing the sum of that is going to be multiplied by the special increase or decrease of damage, which is your PvP damage, PvE damage, and PvP PvE damage mitigation, right? So that's basically what is multiplying it to. So the change in formula that's here is going to not sugarcoat it, basically nerf the hell out of like Paladin, so they're not as like unstoppable as they are at the moment. So kind of makes sense. We saw it firsthand with War of Imperium, and I'm pretty sure they've been seeing that firsthand in Taiwan as well. So, you know, this one's, I would have to say this one's a bit deserved. The Trapper Hunter, I would like to see how they justify that nerf. On the other hand, we have also strengthened the performance of Death Racing attack in PvP, which is sacrifice, hoping to improve the training efficiency of the Crusaders and better performance of the King, which is, I guess, the class, sort of. They're nerfing PvP for sure, apparently, and they're buffing, strengthening the performance of PvE. So, I mean, you know, it's a good thing that, like, Crusaders can still perform PvE. Like, no, like, PvP debuffs or nerfs should not affect PvE, because, like, that has nothing to do with PvP. So that is, I think that's fair. About Trap Hunter, the output of the hunter profession is too strong in the late stage of the trap genre, which is a trap build, which makes trap hunting easily suppress most professions, most classes, which deviates from the original design positioning of the trap genre or the trap skill. We deeply understand the impact this has on game balance and understand players' expectations for fairness. People must have really complained about like trappers, and people must have really not known how to counter trappers as well for this to have been a thing. But again, there is popular opinion, and they did put those polls and surveys out to the public. So this is just, you know, this is a popularity, or in this case, notoriety contest as to who's going to get buffed and who's going to get nerfed, right? We expect the trap genre to be more treacherous on the battlefield, affecting the battle situation through unexpected ways, which is as traps do, lying in wait, rather than relying on excessive output to suppress everything, which is, I guess, excessive output being excessive damage to just insta-give everybody. To that end, we're tweaking the trap's damage calculation formula to achieve this balance. So they're nerfing trappers again. I mean, sure, yeah, I can see how trappers would do a lot of damage if you let the traps get to you because of again, we talked about it earlier, the power creep that goes with the game, right? The way that it works is M attack, M damage scale so hard, which is partly the reason why wizards also managed to scale incredibly hard as well, is because of the magic attack, magic damage power creep in the game. And I'm guessing that played into the excessive damage that traps were doing. Because with that power creep plus a mistake in damage calculation, kind of like how they did, as they said, with their Crusaders, then I can see where the insane damage is coming from. Instead of like calculation, I feel like it's being disguised as like damage calculation, but I feel like it was a bug. Kind of like how Trapper damage was bugged in CBT and was fixed in OBT, right? So who knows? In addition, we also realized that the damage calculation of the trap booster gear has some irrationality. Well, there goes the bug. The damage multiplier it provides belongs to the final damage multiplication area, and the increase in scale damage is too large and will not be diluted. Okay? Basically, there's no diminishing returns there, which is unreasonable compared to the gear design of other professions. Therefore, in this adjustment, we will revise the damage calculation method of the trap booster gear to make it more in line with the overall balance requirements. So, aka, they're gonna nerf the hell out of it, right? Many adventurers think that turrets and traps can be selected, but they cannot use skills to cause damage to them, which is poor in PvP experience, which makes sense. And if the forts and traps can be destroyed, the two genres will also lose their main output means. But that's the thing, it's like you can Ganbentine them, right? So I don't know what they're talking about here. Therefore, we adjusted the forts and traps, the forts being the turrets, to be unselectable. Okay, so now they're untargetable. But I mean, you don't really need to target them with Ganbentine to eliminate them, no? I guess we'll have to test it when this patch is applied to global. While improving the PvP experience of other occupations, it also ensures that the gameplay of the forts and traps, the main output means of the industry has room to play. Industry being class, probably, or spec. In addition to the correction of strong occupations, there are also major adjustments for relatively weak occupations. So I would think that LK is going to be part of this. For alchemists, we have reduced the cooldown time and common cooldown time of acid class. Cooldown time being inherent cooldown, common cooldown being global cooldown, which is actually really good for alchemists and creators, because before it is a free-to-play friendly class because it deals a decent amount of damage, but it did have a long cooldown, right? Which is why whales tend to not go this route, because no matter how much you try to whale out, you do a decent amount of damage. Yes, that's true, but the thing is, you throw something, you're setting duck. You wait for your cooldowns, and then you throw something again, single target, and then you're sitting duck again. So the reduction of cooldown and global cooldown is definitely really good. Adjusted the physical gain in the damage formula, increased the chance of destroying equipment, really good as well with the utility, hoping to allow alchemists to perform better. So this right here, the reduced cooldown plus the more recent, not the more recent, but the most recent patch that they had for alchemists, which was a buff. They increased the damage of acid demonstration by 50%. So now, along with this, I feel like creators, alchemists, actually go up on the tier list when it comes to free-to-play, being a free-to-play class, which they were already kind of like up there a little bit. They were like A tier, maybe they can go up to like A plus tier, depending on how well this is implemented. Then maybe they can even go up to like S minus tier even, but we'll see, right? Like when we get like the specific numbers for it. So for rogues, which we aren't concerned about at the moment, but let's read it regardless. We have strengthened the crit damage and backstab damage of Armor of God's Domain, Elf genre. I have no idea what that is. With the launch of the new genre imprint, which is the Sigil, the expected damage will be significantly improved. So they are aware that this buff together with the Sigil will make this spec in general, which is backstab, a lot stronger. Also adjusted the trick attack so that the skill can get copper coins with 100% chance. So there you go, your farmer class right there, right? As with RO1. I kind of like that spin a little bit on the class. It really does. It kind of is like really reminiscent of RO1, but it's good that rogues definitely got a damage boost. I think that's a good thing. They have some insane utility already. But, you know, it's good to have a class actually have a good damage spec here. So for hunters, we have strengthened the armament of God's Domain. So, okay, so God's Domain is basically your divine armament, right? Elf genre. Okay, so elf genre would be the weapon. And Uriel, I'm guessing, is Ulur's bow. So that the skill Steel Beak can inherit part of the physical damage of the character and the further increase the late game of the bird hunting style. So what this means is that they're making your bird scale into the late game. This, I feel, along with the buffs that ADL gets at 110 with the weapon and 115 with the accessories, definitely puts ADL hunters in a very good position when it comes into the late game. So yes, you're still squishy, but at the very least now, with how squishy you are, you have the damage to justify it. And in terms of delivering damage, you are a range class, so you will have better luck than, say, like an agility crit, like LK, for example, right? So this is really good for hunters. For dancers and bards, we have reduced the skill cooldown time and common cooldown time of Dissonance and Ugly Dance, Eden's Apple and Serving You, Fantastic Rhapsody, you banish Arrow Flurry, which I'm guessing is your Arrow Vulcan, and increase the skill cooldown of Arrow Flurry skill damage. Fantasia will also increase damage in PvE scenes. I'm not sure what Fantasia is, but you know, increased damage in PvE, always good. Reduce the skill cooldown and common cooldown of Dissonance and Ugly Dance. I guess that would make Ugly Dance more effective. I'm not sure how that would affect their grinding as well, because I mean, there is an Ugly Dance build, DPS build for dancers right? So we'll have to see. We'll have to take a look what the specifics to this are. But you know, buffs are always a good thing, right? So for priests, we have increased the frequency of damage caused by the cross exorcism skill, which is your Magnus gear, your ME priests. Increasing the overall damage and improving the hang-up practice experience. We have also reduced the cooling time of resurrection in the PvE scene. So PvE, not PvP, you're still gonna have your 7-second cooldown, and improve the auxiliary status of priest while increasing the damage frequency of cross exorcism for balance considerations. We have also reduced the immobilization time caused by holy spike of gears, which is the root, right? So from what I understand with this one right here is that they are going to increase the frequency by they're going to double the frequency of damage caused by ME, and I believe the usual 800 something percent, they're going to bring it down to like 500 something percent. So they're going to double the tick, but they're going to decrease the damage a little bit. So you're not going to get that initial burst anymore that ME priests usually do or use to make a play on a stack. But the damage does become more frequent, and the damage does become more overall, which means you have more DPS, which means that like even with the reduced root of Holy Spike, that means that you're still gonna be able to inflict even more damage because you're ticking faster and you're dealing more damage, you know, per 2 seconds or whatever. And also what that means is that like ME priests that decide to have CC cards in their weapons now will have a higher chance to proc those CC cards as well. So that is in overall, yes, you sacrifice your burst damage, but then your overall DPS experiences a pretty huge spike, right? So this is really good in my opinion for ME priests. For martial artists, which is I guess champions, we have removed the indestructible debuff that is automatically released after the gear Phoenix Ember is killed to make it more in line with the usage situation. This, I have no idea what this is. Indestructible debuff, or I guess buff? Are they saying that they're removing the 0.2 second invulnerability when you like Asura? Like what's Phoenix Ember? I'm guessing like Phoenix Ember because like when you Asura there's like a phoenix basically, right? So maybe that's it. They're removing the, you know, so they're making it so camps can now get reflected again? Huh. Interesting. I could be very wrong about this because I don't see why they should nerf champs, but we'll see. For sages, we have enhanced the attribute damage of God's Domain, your DA, your Divine Armament, the additional multiplier damage of attribute arrows, which I'm guessing is attribute bolts, increasing the probability of automatic spell casting, okay, and reduce the SP consumption of Supernatural Wave, which is the one AoE that, one big AoE that sages have. Additional multipliers, it looks like a damage buff to sages. So like people who are looking forward to sage, wanting to try sage, this might be a good thing for you. I'm not sure exactly how much they're gonna boost this damage by. I'm not sure if it's going to make up for the fact that like end game, a lot of like bosses and mobs have incredibly high magic defense that your regular mid spender or lower, or some high spenders even or lower, can't possibly make up for. So we'll have to take a look at this one as you know, it kind of unfolds in Taiwan. That's pretty much it. All right guys, peace.